And I said 56 minutes till Chisholm Colby got his space of the third test. 56 minutes of the third test, Chisholm Colby got the space. Okay, if we just say scrummaging, all penalties of scrummaging are bent arms. In other words, you can't kick for touch and get a line out, and you can't kick for goal. That is, of course, unless it's dangerous play or offside. Okay? What does that mean? It means people stop scrummaging to get penalties and they pass the ball out. So we have backline attack off scrums. So we don't have this endless scrummaging for penalties. They've got to get the ball out. If you also said every defensive team off a line out and a scrum is back 15 metres. Now, not 10 metres, 15. Off both sets, it's 15 metres. We would see a lot more set play attack. We're only changing a few laws. If we said tries are now worth 7 points, all penalty goals and conversions and drop goals are 2 points. All the kicks are level at 2, and we're lifting that to 7. So if you score a try and convert it, it's 9 points. The reward for going for tries becomes much, much more great than that. Now, with just changing those small laws on that and changing the values of your rewards, you create a completely different game. You're giving the teams more space, you're giving them incentive to score tries, and you're showing offset play we can get some go forward. Now, there is hundreds of more laws we need just to brush out and change and start again. The other thing I would do, Stu, is I would put it, and I'd have to say this, you have to change what the shot clock on the scrums. So scrum, instead of losing 3 minutes, so we're wasting so much time, you've got a 30-second, 40-second shot clock. If you're not ready to scrummage, it's a bent arm to the other side. You know, so if your ball and you're not bound up, ready to scrummage at the 40-second mark, it's bent arm. Sorry, you're out. Or it could be a long arm. You've got to put some incentive there because we're just wasting so much time. Same thing. In the laws, it says the referee is the sole judge of fact in law. That's why we're getting the TMOs and the referees talking for an hour to each other. Rugby League has stopped saying that. Rugby League has empowered the TMO to say that's a try or it's not a try. And the referee doesn't say, oh, I want to see it. It's my opinion. The TMO tells him, no try. Bang, okay, we go. So we lose all this time of the TMOs running through it 65 times so we can see it on the big screen. Forget all that crap. Change the wording that the TMO is empowered to tell the official what it is. And here's the other one, Stu. And the referees hate this. Referees have resisted reform for 30 years. And that's over. It's got to change. We need a second assistant referee on the field that just stands on the defensive line and keeps teams onside. The first month, we'll have 1,000 penalties. Then we'll see teams are onside and create space. So without changing many laws, just by enforcing the laws we have, changing the reward, you can radically change the mindset of the game. What would that mean for the lines? It means off scrum and line out, they've got gain lines, they've got overlaps. What does it say to the back row on the scrums? I can't push all the time because I've got to get out and defend. So the scrums aren't collapsing. There's not as much pressure coming through scrums. It's got all these knock-on effects. Now, there's a group of very wise old dudes, older than me, that tells you something how old they are. They've got together and they've put a video together of a package of all the things they suggest. Now, I don't agree with them all. But for World Rugby to come out and just say, oh, we're going to do the 50-22, instead of doing a 22 dropout, we're going to do a dropout from behind your goalposts. A couple of little where you put your toes at the breakdown. I mean, it's like the lava is flowing down from the volcano and they put 3 stakes in the ground. You know, you're going, guys, it's just so, what we need is so much more. It's so undervalued. And Stu, this is because they're not acting as statesmen for the game. They're acting as politicians covering the arse of the union they represent. And all the unions are fearful that the law changes they're going to hurt Ireland. I'll give you an example. I was coaching Ulster at the time. I'll tell the truth. I haven't told this story much before. I'll tell it to you. Ewan McKenzie's coaching another Australian, wonderful guy, coaching in Stade Francais. I think Eddie Jones was coaching, I think Saracens at the time, he might have just finished, and I was coaching Ulster. And they were changing these laws about 2009, I think it was. It was 2008 or 2009. And it was the law now that we take for granted that you can do a quick line-out throw. You know, the ball goes out and the winger can throw the ball in. And there was a couple of other changes. And we were instructed by our unions so that's the English Union, the Irish Union and the French Union, to vote against it because they felt it was the Southern Hemisphere trying to get advantage of the Northern Hemisphere. And there was a little bit of a phone chats and you're going, oh, you kidding me? Like, how's this South? So we just ignored them and voted for it because it was the best thing for the game. That law change was voted on by the coaches, and the coaches approved the law change because we could see what was on. Not just our coaches all around the North. We all voted for it. So it should be changed. The politicians won't change the laws because they're fearful of their political position on boards and committees and so on. And until we can get that stalemate moved so that coaches can vote for it, we can get some sort of voting mechanism around rugby to change the things we change, the process will be too slow. And we'll get more games like the South African Lions games, unfortunately. You can see the different mindset the New Zealanders and the Australians in the Bledisloe Cup test, but they are still as slow as a month of Sundays. We're still getting reset scrums. Teams are still scrummaging for penalties. We're kicking too much for penalty. We're not scoring enough tries, even though they were good the other day. But there was so much time wasting, so much fiddly penalties from the referees. A guy comes in and just clips his knee on the ground on the way through. That's a penalty. And you can see the Australian hooker. There was one, the Australian hooker came in, smacked into a guy, lost his footing, hit the ground, got to his feet. He was supporting his own ball. And he said, didn't support your own body weight. That's a penalty. And the guy's saying, mate, I got hit by a 120 kilo guy. What do you expect me to do? Like this is the madness in our game. And Stu, we saw that. The Lions tour, every test, we saw that madness. We saw where the officialdom is out of control. We saw our laws ridiculously technical. And we saw two coaches exploiting those laws. And they're not to blame. The coaches are not to blame. It's the laws.
Do you think the current professional players at the moment, Matt, would agree with you or disagree with you? Even the props, who, if it's a quick game, they may have to lose a few pounds if they want to play the new styles, Matt, that you're saying they should implement?
Well, I'd go on, Stu. I left one thing out too, and that is you can make replacements at half time, and you might say the 55-minute mark and the 70-minute mark. That's where you can make them. Why are the games being slowed down? Exactly. Because mauling and scrummaging is absolutely killing the tight five. They are sapped. And here's the answer. Bad luck. That's the whole point. If you're tired, you miss tackles. So they're doing this. This is a tactic so they get their breath back. So we're going to have more mauls and more scrums. Well, the lawmakers have got to say, bad luck, guys. It's got to change. There's an old joke in rugby that beer was invented to stop props taking over the world. Now the props now don't drink too much beer and they are taking over the rugby world. We've got to step in and say the game is not just for the scrum. The game is for Chisholm Colby. The game is for Jacob Stockdale. The game is for Robbie Henshaw. The game is not just for scrummaging and forward packs and mauling. And that's what we're seeing. This is what I'm saying. We should have scrummaging and we should have mauling. But the game is out of balance. We haven't got yin and yang. We haven't got the balance in our game. It's out of balance in favour of defence against offence and in favour of tight scrummaging and mauling against open play. And it needs to be rebalanced. And if it's not rebalanced, something drastic is going to happen. And that's going to be people stop watching, which is going to be disastrous for the game. It's not marketable. Well, you try and market that game. You take that to America and try and market what we just saw. They'll laugh you out the door. They're not going to watch that crap. Mate, I can tell you in Australia, they're not going to watch that. I can tell you across Europe, they're not going to watch that. They'll watch other games, but they're not going to watch games that are just boring. And you know what? Kids aren't going to play it. So there's all these dilemmas that they have rolling out in front of them. But I'm not hopeful that change will come. I'm not hopeful.
Who'd want to be in World Rugby, Matt? The board.
If we take... Sorry, poor old Joe Schmidt's in a really hard spot because I'm sure he wants to change. It's not, and I'm positive. Joe can't say that because he's working. I'm positive he wants a lot of changes. But I don't. It's the politicians stopping it, not the rugby people. It's not the rugby people want.